Next, let's discuss about programming language paradigm. We will discuss about programming language paradigm. What is this paradigm? Paradigm means it's a model or it's a pattern. Paradigm means it's a model or it's a pattern of our programming language. That's the reason we call it as a paradigm. Paradigm means it's a model or it's a pattern, software pattern. In our programming languages paradigm, we have two types of programming language paradigms. What are those? We have imperative paradigms and declarative paradigms. What is imperative paradigms and declarative paradigms? First, I will make a note about this. Then we will discuss briefly about imperative paradigms and declarative paradigms. Paradigm means model or pattern. In programming language paradigms, in programming language, paradigms are classified into two types. What are those? Just now we have discussed imperative paradigms and declarative paradigms. In programming language, paradigms are classified into two types. What is our first paradigm type? Imperative paradigm. Next we have declarative paradigms. These are the two types of paradigms we have in our programming languages. First, we will discuss about imperative paradigm. What is imperative paradigms? We will discuss now. Imperative paradigms. Imperative paradigms are nothing but imperative paradigms are classified into two types: procedural programming paradigm and object oriented programming paradigm. Whatever the languages which comes under procedural programming are nothing but our C language and Pascal language. These type of languages are called procedural programming paradigm. This procedural programming paradigm languages are comes under imperative paradigms, and also object oriented programming, like for example we have C++, Java. All these are comes under object oriented programming. This object oriented programming also comes under imperative paradigms. These are the two types of imperative paradigms we have under programming language paradigm. Let me make a note about this. Imperative paradigms are classified into two types. They are procedural programming paradigm. Just now we have discussed whatever the programming languages comes under procedural programming. What programming languages are called procedural programming languages? For example, we have C language and we have Pascal language. Those the type of programming languages comes under procedural programming languages, and that procedural programming languages are nothing but imperative paradigms. Example, C language, comma, Pascal comes under procedural programming paradigms. And we have object oriented programming paradigm. Whatever the languages which comes under object oriented programming are also called as imperative paradigm. What languages comes under object oriented programming? For example, we have C++, comma, Java, comma, etc. All these comes under object oriented programming, and these are also called as imperative paradigms. Next, we will discuss about declarative paradigms. Declarative paradigm. We have two types of declarative paradigms. What are those? Whatever the languages which comes under functional programming, those are called declarative paradigm. And whatever the languages which comes under logical programming, they are also called as declarative paradigm. First, let me make a note about this. Declarative paradigms are classified into two types. They are we have functional programming paradigm, what are the languages comes under functional programming? For example, we have Lisp. Lisp is a programming language. It's a functional programming language. It's a list processing functional programming language. And we have logical programming paradigm. Whatever the programming languages which comes under logical programming, those are called declarative paradigms. We have, for example, Prolog. What is mean by Prolog? Prolog is nothing but programming in logic. These type of functional programming language or paradigm, logical programming type of language paradigms are comes under declarative paradigm. Then when it comes to Python, first itself I need to explain you what is Python. But directly if I explain you Python, you cannot understand. That's the reason I'm coming from very scratch level, from very ground level I'm teaching you. That's the reason I'm explaining programming language paradigm. What are the types of programming language paradigms we have and what is Python language paradigm. That's the reason I'm explaining all this to you. So we have seen what are imperative paradigms, what are declarative paradigms, what are the languages and programming comes under imperative paradigms, and what are the languages programming comes under declarative paradigm. When it comes to Python, Python is not only declarative paradigm or imperative paradigm. Python is a multi-paradigm programming language. That means Python is a procedural programming and also object oriented and also functional, everything. Python is everything. That's the reason Python is called a multi-paradigm programming language. Who invented this Python? Guido van Rossum. Guido van Rossum invented Python, and this Python is a multi-paradigm programming language. Now you got an idea of what is multi-paradigm programming language. To make you understand definition very easily, I explained you all these basics. Now I will explain you what is Python. Let's define Python. Python is a multi-paradigm programming language invented by Guido van Rossum. Python is a multi-paradigm programming language. Means Python is a functional programming, procedural programming, object-oriented programming, everything. You can use any paradigm. Python consists of all the models and patterns which is used internally. That's the reason Python is called a multi-paradigm programming language. In first itself, we have discussed what is paradigm. Paradigm is nothing but it's a model or it's a pattern. These are the types of models and types of patterns. But when it comes to Python, Python is a multi-paradigm because Python is having different types of models, different types of patterns. That's the reason Python is a multi-paradigm programming language. It's a object-oriented programming, it's a functional programming, and also we can call it as a procedural program. So now you got an idea